Tape my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? Hush.
Welcome, World Ablaze listeners, to episode 79. 79, welcome back. Thanks for being here. I hope you're doing okay. Hope you're safe. Hope all is well, considering the crazy week of events. Almost a week and a half of events, maybe closer to 2. Regardless, I'm just going to say that every time I went to go press record on this little button here I have on my controller for my DAW, as they call it, something else happened. Listen, more bullshit was going down. That's the way I'm going to put it. More bullshit went down. We had the protests against ICE, which turned into riots. People protesting the fact that laws are being enforced. And we're going to get into some of that with facts and data in terms of how the Democrats really feel about immigration and enforcing immigration laws, and how it's just today they are okay with allowing 11 million undocumented, which is their word, people into the United States of America without enforcing any laws because President Trump is in charge. So yeah, they're just going to be, arguing the opposite for the sake of doing the opposite because TDS is a real thing. And aside from that, we have Iran and Israel at war. Oh, and don't forget the other protest. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. The No King protest, which was the No Kings, but then turned into the No King, which I believe they're protesting Donald Trump. Allegedly, he's a king, but as far as I knew, the United States of America does not have a king because the president is elected by the people through a democratic process that requires the majority of people to vote so that your representative can go cast the vote on your behalf for the person you want to be president. And then there's the other issue is that Donald Trump is frustrated because he is waiting on the House to pass a legislation so that he can enforce certain policies and laws that he wants to put into effect. Usually a king wouldn't need to wait for that, but I guess we have a king. So, hey, look, people came together. They felt good about themselves. They patted each other on the back. They hugged each other. They said, yeah, there you go. We got it. We got you, Trump. See, look at us. Look at us. Look at us, which is exactly what it was. It was a big, hey, pay attention to me. Look, okay, listen. No kings, king, whatever. Protest look big. There was a lot of people in blue cities and blue states primarily. But anyway, look, you do you. So anyway, that happened. And then, of course, like I just stated before this, was Israel-Iran. And that is a big deal. That's a major deal. That's some shit, man. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. So yeah, 3 topics. This is going to get a bit wordy. This may be a bit heavy for some. There's going to be some facts, going to be some data. I know some of the people who listen to this are listening only for the sake of hatred, and they support me anyway because, every time you listen, it counts towards my downloads. So thanks for doing that, haters. And for those who support me because you like the information, doesn't mean you agree with me, but you just like the information and the way that I bring things to light. Thank you. Thank you for doing so. And as I always ask, just please share the show with others. And we're all good. We're all good. Appreciate every one of you. Hey, before I move on though, I have to go ahead and give a shout out to a few independents, actually all the independent creators out there. You see, recently there's been a lot of big name podcasters, Patrick Bet-David. That slipped out? Yeah, well, Patrick Bet-David, the Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Charlie Kirk, all these guys established. We're all mad at us independent guys, the small people, the peasants of the podcast industry. Wait, it's not an industry. Yes, it is. Anyway, so they're coming out and punching down. They're mad that there are too many podcasters now, too many podcasts out there, which is kind of encroaching on their numbers. They've been out there discouraging people from even starting a podcast. I say, fuck them. I say, too bad. So sad, too bad. We're not going anywhere. This particular show, I've only been doing it for 2 years, and it has grown enormously within the 2-year period. So I'm fortunate, I'm not rich off of it. I've said that many times. I do this on the side, and I appreciate everybody who hears what I have to say. But I do my due diligence, and I make sure that whatever I say is backed by facts, backed by data, and even my opinions are based on facts. So if I make a mistake, which does happen occasionally, I do correct it. I do. But these guys that are big, that are getting mad for the percentage of smaller creators, independent creators, for taking the attention away. Well, that's all I got to say to you, big guys. Maybe you're not as relevant and as interesting as you believe you are. Maybe the competition is there because there are other people who take what they do seriously and have something to offer. So, again, so sad, too bad. With that being said, here is a big shout out to the guys at Whiskey Hell Podcast. I'm also going to give a shout out to Curvin Oakland and his wife. They are the hosts of This Week Explain, and they're holding it down for us in Germany now, as Curvin is now over there doing the good work. And we have Aaron Des Hotel. He is the ranter of ranters, but I got to tell you, he definitely shoots from the hip. He gets it off his chest, and he makes a lot of good points in the process. So he's a good listen. So if you haven't heard that, please listen to I Had to Say It. And of course, my brother. Yes, that's right. I'm shouting out my brother, recommending the Manual Fonts Show. Now, he'll occasionally pronounce it Fontes. I think he does it out of spite for whatever reason, but it is pronounced Fonts. Anyway, shout out to the Manual Fonts Show if you haven't heard that. Also, very good show. Lots of news, a lot of opinion, a lot of obscure news, some facts. All of these people I mentioned are great shows, great independents. Support your independence because we all start out small. And I can only hope that if we do blow up, if I continue to grow at the rate that I am, that I will just remain humble. That's my hope. But again, thanks everybody for supporting me. And again, support all of my friends and all of our independents out there. And that is enough hot air, right? Let's just get to it. Okay, facts and data time. So Democrats crying, screaming, Karen Bass making statements about making sure that we stand in the way of ICE from performing their duties. I actually think, I'm not sure she said it exactly like that, but yeah, she said that. Gavin Newsom crying about the National Guard being deployed by President Trump because, well, Karen Bass didn't do a damn thing during the riots, and she delayed the police response. Gavin Newsom also delayed the National Guard response. And, as usual, Democrats do in their Democratic cities. And sorry if you're a good Democrat. I don't mean to bash you in particular, but it seems most of the politicians that claim to be part of the Democratic Party would rather see their cities burn for the sake of, political prowess, to look good, to get brownie points. Or is it, no, not get, to gain brownie points and to garner support for themselves and their political agenda. Because twisting the narrative is exactly what politicians do. But with all that being said, they're highly against deporting immigrants. Instead of calling them illegals, they call them undocumented. A nice way of saying you're illegal. And Trump is the enemy. Trump is the fascist. Trump is Hitler. All right, then. Well, facts and data time. Let me pull this old nugget out. Here's some data that breaks down three prior presidents. Let's start with Billy Clinton here, old Bill Clinton. Democrat. Very, 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 very well loved. Hell, he was well loved even by Republicans, from what I recall. He was a good president. He was very charismatic. Smoked cigars, did other things with cigars, but hey, that's another story. So let's go over the totals here. So Bill Clinton in his 2-year term here, 93 through 2000, total deportations. You guys ready for this? Because I'm going to tell you right now what you've suspected. Democrats are liars. Yeah. All right. So old Billy Clinton, total deportations for President Bill Clinton, 12,290,905. Now, Let's jump to a Republican. Remember Bush? Good old George Bush there. Total deportations for his 8-year term, 10,328,850. Now, after Bill Clinton, deportation rates did decline. And then we get to the deporter-in-chief. Now, that's a term that I don't understand. But let me just read Obama's numbers for his 8-year term. 5,281,115. Interesting numbers, right? Very interesting. You're asking me, I'm sure right now, well, what about Trump's numbers? Trump is way worse. We'll get to that. Hold on. We're getting there. Now, with those numbers in mind, and again, I'm going to get back to the whole deporter-in-chief because it seems like Bill Clinton was the deporter-in-chief, but I guess the way Obama went about it, I guess the increase or the sudden increase in deportations during his term was why he was called the deporter-in-chief. He also did other things that didn't help him from, claiming that title. And I'll get to that. So, first of all, though, good old Billy Clinton. You want to hear what the Democrats really felt about illegal immigrants back in the day? Because under Bill Clinton's tutelage, after deporting nearly 13 million illegal aliens, I'm not going to say undocumented, illegal aliens, he got a huge round of applause after this speech that he made, the State of the Union. And got to listen to this. Here's old Billy Clinton.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
Hold on, huh? He's starting to sound a lot like President Trump, right? Hold on, barring welfare to illegal aliens are a burden. They are taking jobs away from Americans. Jeez, Billy. All right, let's keep playing this.
In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
There's the applause. There is the applause. All the Democrats standing up and giving him a standing ovation. Clinton did not just sound like Trump. He didn't just sound like Trump. He also sounded like Tom Homan, didn't he? Just a little bit. Anyway, hey, how about the jewel of the Democrats here, a little Chucky Schumer. Let's go here and listen to old Chuck back then. This was around I think this was around the Obama era. I don't really recall, but here's a video of Chuck Schumer here. Listen to what he has to say.
People who enter the United States without our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who entered the...
Hold on, did Chuck Schumer just say illegal? Damn it, Chucky. It's undocumented. Don't you know? How dare you? That is so racist of you to say. Because all illegals are brown or black or people of color, right? Never German, never Canadian, never from the UK, ever. There's never a white illegal immigrant. I digress. Anyway, but Chuck, it's undocumented. Well, anyway, let's hear what else old Chucky has to say here.
U.S. legally. When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration.
Damn, Chuck.
Which the American people overwhelmingly oppose.
Even he didn't want to use undocumented back then. Did you just hear that?
If you don't think it's illegal, you're not going to say it. I think it is illegal and wrong, and we have to change it.
Wow, Chuck, he didn't hold anything back. Didn't pull any punches. He said, there's no way we could use the word undocumented. That is just wrong. We got to recognize these people are illegal. And the deporter in chief, here's Obama. Come on. The patron saint of the Democrat Party here. Let's play some Obama.
What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English.
Oh.
You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally.
Wait a minute. I had to stop it because I'm still stuck on the fact that he told everyone, this is what you're going to do. You're going to learn English. I thought that was considered racist and insensitive and dismissive of people's cultures. This is Obama? Wow.
But after you've done these things over a certain period of time, you can earn your citizenship.
That's generally how it works.
So that it's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it, but over time, you give people an opportunity. Now, it only works, though, if you do all the pieces. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration, but they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. So we've got to deal with that at the same time as we deal in a humane fashion with folks who have put down roots here, have become our neighbors, have become our friends. They may have children who are U.S. citizens. That's the kind of comprehensive approach that we have to take.
Okay. Hold on. Did Obama just pull the flip-flop in this speech? The same thing they keep accusing Trump of doing? Flip-flopping back and forth? Yes. I think in general, people want to support immigrants. But as Obama just said, we can't have 500,000 people just coming in over the border. But yet under Biden's reign, it was okay for 11 point whatever million people to come in over the border unchecked. Crazy how things change, right? I think this is is proof that the only reason the Democrats oppose immigration right now is because Trump is president. They just hate him that much. They hate that he exists. TDS, as I said, is real. But hold on, we're not done. Here is Mrs. Clinton, Hillary, or Killary as some call her.
So I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone.
Hold on. You're sounding like Tom Homan there, Hillary. Is this what you believed back then? Hold on. If they commit a crime, deport them. No, forget about it. That's it. Just get rid of them. Didn't they just do that to, I don't know, Kilmar Brego Garcia? And then you guys wanted to get him back and tell Trump it was illegal to do so, even though he is a confirmed known criminal. That in his arrest record, yes, he has one. And in one of the reports, yes, it's available. He was arrested. He admitted that he entered the U.S. illegally by coming through or across the desert. He was also verified by other individuals in this report of being an MS-13 gang member. Okay, so it's wrong under Trump's administration, but not under Clinton's or Obama's. Here, let's hear a little bit more of this windbag.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
Oh, whoa, there's that learn English thing again. I thought we can't say that. Can't we? I thought we can't do that. Woo, all right, Hillary. So crazy, right? How things change. Democrats then, Democrats now. And here's one of the stars of the show here. I cannot leave out Nancy Pelosi. This is 2005 right here.
Broken borders. That's an oxymoron, something we can't tolerate. Borders of their nature, our definition as a nation, and our protection as a country. Broken borders, they don't exist. We can't tolerate them. So let's say from the start that we all in this body, and I know I can speak very firmly for the Democrats, support strong border control.
What the fuck? Pelosi. Hold on. You said borders are there to define and protect a nation? How many Republicans have said that, or conservatives, recently, and they were chastised for it? I've said it myself, and I'll tell you what, when I have said these things on social media, whoo, the floodgates have come out after me. Yeah, the people just kicking and screaming and clawing to get at me for saying the very same thing that Pelosi said, which is not controversial because it's true. That's what borders are for. Borders are for the protection, for defining, for standing for the very sovereignty of the nation. Not just the United States of America, but any nation. Borders are there for an absolute reason. And that reason, for the most part, is positive. They are there to tell the world that this area, these people within this area, this culture within this area, is in fact a sovereign nation, a nation of like-minded individuals. But the Democrats today cannot back that statement. They cannot back that belief. Although it was said 20 years ago by Pelosi. It was said 10 years ago by Obama. It was said many, many times in the past by all major Democratic leaders because immigration was a problem back then until Trump decided to run for president. Then it was no longer a problem. The problem was closing our borders. The problem was it's racist now to define our borders and protect our sovereignty and our culture. So the flip-flops that these people are wearing, hell, they're not even flip-flops, they're fucking clown shoes. I mean, let's just call it what it is. But you know what? I know these are a lot of clips, but I got another Obama. Here's a newer one. This one was about 10 years ago. And in this statement from 10 years ago, now he makes sense, and this is another classic Obama flip-flop. You know, he says one thing while speaking out his face on the other side and saying the other, all in the same speech. You know what? Listen to this.
We'll build on our progress at the border with additional resources for our law enforcement personnel so that they can stem the flow of illegal crossings and speed the return of those who do cross over.
Did he just say that he wanted to add more law enforcement to control the border? Interesting.
Second, I'll make it easier and faster for high-skilled immigrants, graduates, and entrepreneurs to stay and contribute to our economy, as so many business leaders have proposed.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Third, we'll take steps to deal responsibly with the millions of undocumented immigrants who already live in our country. I want to say more about this third issue because it generates the most passion and controversy. Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable.
Wait a minute. Even though we're a nation of immigrants, we're a nation of laws. Isn't that what Billy Clinton said back in his time? Wait, do the Democrats really believe in strict immigration policy and enforcing those laws? Oh, wait, what changed? Anyway, let's hear more of what he has to say.
Especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security.
So that's why he was called the deporter-in-chief. Damn it, up 80% under his tutelage. Whew, you go, Obama.
Felons, not families. Criminals, not children. Gang members, not a mom who's working hard to provide for her kids.
Hold on, I could agree with that, but did he just say gang members? And as far as mom providing for her kids, why do we give the parent a pass? A parent who committed a crime, by the definition, may not be a heinous, evil, murderous crime, but, broke the law, has kids, and in doing so, without resolving the issue, is putting her kids in danger. But she gets a pass, right? Kind of makes sense, but not really, because then can we also dismiss murderers because of this loophole of having a child, and we don't want to separate a father from their son. It doesn't work that way, though, right? Just in the case of breaking other laws. Okay. Well, let's continue.
We'll prioritize, just like law enforcement does every day. But even as we focus on deporting criminals, the fact is millions of immigrants in every state, of every race and nationality, still live here illegally.
There's another Democratic flip-flop right there. They still live here illegally. Huh. Interesting. I thought it was not illegal. We're going to look out for the families, but then, yeah. So, remember the old kids in cages thing that they were yelling at Trump about? Well, found an old article from the Washington Post. The headline, Obama wants to put kids in cages. That's right. Obama was responsible. A lot of people don't even remember this, but he was responsible for building the facilities with the fence link cages that held kids that were separated from their families. Later, he used those same facilities and kids because, the people didn't like what he was doing to, house families together in cages. And in many cases, these families and these kids were held in these cages for a very long time while they sorted things out. In fact, here's an article from the ACLU. Now, they love Obama, right? But not back then. See, from August 10th, 2015, here is the headline. ACLU, President Obama wants to continue imprisoning immigrant families. That's right. See, the Obama administration was responsible for a lot of what President Trump is getting flack for. But it all started with Obama. Now, doesn't mean it's right to continue the same draconian policies, but we need to realize that the Democrat Party themselves are the ones who are the biggest flip-floppers of the political parties. On one hand, under Billy Clinton, under Obama, they were proud to deport people because they were illegal and they were a burden on society. They were taking all the money from the working class. They were coming in with their hand out trying to get freebies. Democrats said, "Oh, not in my house, not going to happen. We can't have that." But their hate for Trump is so bad that they flipped the script and are now saying that, wait, we have to be compassionate. We have to bend the rules a bit so that, everybody gets a shot. And you're just a racist, bigoted, fascist Nazi if you want to enforce the laws of the United States of America. Now, I know it's been a little while. This recording's been going on for quite some time, and I've just been beating your ears with facts and data in regard to immigration and video clips of Democrat leaders who said, "Get the hell out of my country, you damn filthy, smelly illegals. We don't want you here." But before we move on, I never mentioned Biden. Very important here because I have from the Customs and Border Patrol website itself, yes, actual government, 3-letter agency. See, they kept track of all of this, and they're still keeping track of it to this day. But here's a comparison of Trump versus Biden. Interesting, because everybody says Trump is out of control. Well, here's 2017 through 2020. 2017, under Trump, there was only 526,901. His first year. All right, 2021, first year of Biden. Total enforcement encounters, 1,956,519. Now, I want to make it clear that this data represents people who crossed the border. These are total encounters. These are encounters by both their Office of Field Operations and U.S. Border Patrol. Now, these encounters include both Title 8 inadmissibles and Title 42 expulsions. Now, these encounters represent the amount of people that were trying to get into the country illegally. And these people, while they have entered illegally, most of them were actually turned away or the enforcement was made. Now, a lot of people say Trump was the worst ever, but even Biden deported, it seems, more people than Trump did. But he also let in 11 million others that nobody even touched, right? So in comparing both Trump's first term and Biden's first term, Biden pretty much doubled the numbers. Well, actually more than doubled the numbers. But here's the second year. Trump's second year, 683,178. Second year of Biden, holy God, 2,766,582. Third year of Trump, this is where it goes up a bit in the third year, 2019, 1,148,024. Third year of Biden, and it keeps going up for Biden at 3,201,144. And then Trump's last year goes way back down, 646,882 or 22 rather. And then the last year of Biden, 2,901,142. Interesting. Now, tell me once again why it's so bad for Trump to be enforcing immigration laws when the darlings of the Democrat Party, good old Billy Clinton, Obama himself, both want to deport illegals for taxing the system, getting free handouts, taking jobs away from the middle class. Even old Chucky Schumer said we should not use the term undocumented. They are illegal. And Pelosi was also for deporting illegals. And of course, good old Hillary Clinton, she has no tolerance. I mean, back then she said, hey, if you're a criminal, you get no chances. You're out automatically. No comebacksies. You're done. Well, I know you've all been taking an ear beating regarding immigration. Lots of facts, lots of data, lots of clips, as I said earlier in the episode. But I'm hoping you're getting the picture I'm painting here. I hope that you're now understanding that the Democrats are liars. They don't care about the enforcement of immigration laws or deporting illegal immigrants. No. This is just about opposition to Donald Trump. That's all it is. It's feeding the American public a narrative. The narrative which helped fuel the protests, riots, the anti-ICE riots that emerged throughout the country. Most of it in California. There was a pretty big one up in Oregon. I heard Portland, the city of Portland, really took a beating. Chicago. It was all over the United States. And then, of course, that also helped fuel the fire and fan the flame for the No Kings protest, riot, whatever. A lot of people showed up. Well, you know what's funny about that one is that there were a lot of large corporations that actually sponsored that event. Crazy. The Walmart heiress herself funneled millions of dollars into that movement. All of this seems, though, as it was just merely a distraction. It was opposition for the sake of opposition, as I said. But while all this was going on, did you hear the other headlines? The other headlines that got buried that you should have heard about, but you didn't. You see, while this was all going on, I'm sure you didn't hear about the 2 Chinese nationals that were arrested for smuggling a dangerous fungus, one that is known to cause not just billions of dollars in damages, but to actually kill crops. We're talking about wheat, rice, corn, even affects livestock and cattle. You didn't hear about that, did you? No, because your focus was directed elsewhere. In fact, there's a term for that. It's called misdirection. So let me play a news clip here from ABC News about these Chinese nationals.
Chinese nationals are accused of smuggling a dangerous fungus into the U.S. that experts say could be a potential terror weapon targeting agriculture. This is a microscopic view of that fungus known to cause billions of dollars in damage to crops, including wheat, barley, and rice worldwide every year. If consumed by humans, it can cause liver damage and birth defects. One of the suspects allegedly caught with the fungus hidden in his luggage at the Detroit airport. The DOJ claims he lied, saying that he was just there to visit his girlfriend, a Chinese visiting research fellow at the University of Michigan, but later confessed to having it. We'll stay on this.
Well, now, I would say that's interesting. Actually, more than interesting. I would say concerning. an agro-terror attempt. Caught in the act. This coincides with the recent purchases, I'm sure now this is just a theory, of large amounts of farmland by Chinese nationals or the Chinese government, because we all know the Chinese government has a piece of everything. And the data suggests that, well, this is actually kind of old because as of 2021, Chinese entities owned around 384,000 acres of agricultural land in the United States. I don't know what that number is now. And it's been reported that it's really hard to pin down how many have been bought up by foreign nations, the Chinese in particular, just because it's really hard to track. The Government Accountability Office, they state, and I'm quoting, "It has been noted that tracking foreign land ownership can be challenging due to the decentralized nature of land deed records." Now, Chinese holdings represent, they say, not the Government Accountability Office, just they in general, like various reports in terms of who tracks the activities of foreign nations buying land in the United States, that it represents less than 1% of all U.S. agricultural land held by foreign entities. But regardless, 384,000 acres is a lot of land. The locations or the states with the largest Chinese holdings include Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, Utah, and Virginia. Now, so we can kind of connect the dots here. Chinese buy agricultural land. Chinese smuggle dangerous fungus to kill crops and livestock. Chinese more than likely have an antidote which deems their crops and livestock immune to said fungus. And lo and behold, China now controls the food supply of America. Might be more than a theory. You see, while we're crying about enforcing immigration laws, people are smuggling in dangerous terrorist weapons, and foreign nationals are able to sneak in across our borders with the intent of causing harm to the United States of America. Now, since we're talking about terrorists that have crossed our border or have even been encountered and stopped from entering, let's talk about how many have been encountered by the Customs and Border Patrol. There's the office field operations, terrorism-related encounters at the land borders, ports of entry of all nationalities. This data is, of course, from the cbp.gov website. But I'm really concerned about the last 2 years of Biden's presidency and the current numbers right now of 2025. So as of 2023, under Biden, there were 484 plus 80. There was 564 terrorists encountered by our agencies. Now, these terrorists are confirmed because this data is taken from the terrorist screening database. And these are all known and confirmed terrorists. So let's go to 2024. Now we're looking at, 52 off the southwest border, plus 358 from the northern border. And there was 410 terrorist encounters in 2024. But President Trump in office now, this is very important because now we're looking at 566 through the southwest border, plus 206 from the northern border. That's 772 terrorists that have entered and have been encountered by our law enforcement agencies just in 2025. That is enough terrorists to put 15 terrorists in every state of this nation. Think about that. 15 terrorists in every state. 15 in California, 15 in Wyoming, 15 in Virginia, 15 in Florida, 15 in Alaska. There's Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, and you get the picture. 15 terrorists in every state. Imagine that. Imagine if they weren't caught. Imagine if they just entered and were allowed to root and do their thing. Their thing, which is by definition terror, to wage war from within. That's the intent. Now, all of this is very interesting numbers because with everything that was going on, the misdirection I spoke about, we have bold attempts at bringing terrorist aggro weapons into the United States. We have an increase of terrorists trying to get into the United States over our borders. And listen, these numbers I read to you regarding these terrorists is only those, and it only relates to those that have been encountered and caught. This does not mean that there were those that were not encountered that got in. We need to be concerned. Why? Well, this leads us to our next segment, Israel versus Iran. The Israel-Iran war is very scary. And there's a few reasons why that I am going to point out. Let's start with Pakistan as being one of those reasons. You see, Pakistan was one of the first nations to come to the aid of Iran, or at least they expressed that they will fully back Iran in this war. They have also called for all Muslim nations to unite against Israel in this war. You see, Pakistan is a nuclear nation. They have nuclear weapons. Pakistan also stated that they will attack Israel with a nuclear missile if Israel bombs Iran with a nuclear missile. So this could easily turn into a nuclear war. A nuclear war that will trigger other nations to also get involved. Now, aside from calling for all Muslim nations to unite against Israel, Israel's greatest ally, as stated by Israel themselves, is the United States of America, another nuclear power. Now, we don't want to get into a war. I think that many people in the United States believe that Israel and Iran should just fight this one out. But we all know that it's not going to be long before we step in, before the United States step in. Trump has already been making statements. He's been making some very strong statements. He already warned Iran that they should have made the deal, the nuclear deal. None of this would have happened. He's also stated that if Iran is to hurt any American, that there will be hell to pay. You see, Trump already sent an aircraft carrier to the area, and Trump is definitely on the ready to support Israel if need be. Now, so far, he hasn't really fully stepped in with the full might of the Army, the Navy, Marines, the entire Air Force, etc. But the statements have been made. The warnings have been definitely sent, although just verbally, but still. Now, aside from Pakistan, China is now saying that Iran has a right to protect themselves, and China is ready to support Iran if needed. Although China may have another goal in mind in all this, a big distraction. They may be saying this to see how China reacts, but at the same time, we all know that China will probably not step in, as they may just want to go ahead and take Taiwan while everybody is occupied with this conflict, if it pops off how we're predicting. But China has also lent their support to Iran. There's also reports that India has spoken up. So nothing in this situation is looking good for Israel, which in turn doesn't look good for the U.S. because Israel is going to reach out their hand. In fact, Netanyahu has already publicly asked for the United States of America to officially step in and help Israel out. Israel poked the bear. You see, they don't have the technologies. Iran doesn't. They don't have the technologies that Israel does. It's said that Iran may even be, 15 to 20 years behind Israel in terms of technology. But Iran does understand that if you throw thousands of rockets at Israel, some of them are going to get through. And in fact, Iran's tactics of just bombing indiscriminately, sending rockets in great numbers, has proven that the Iron Dome can't keep up. It has exposed the weakness the fragility of Israel's very, very advanced defense system, which doesn't seem to be working very well. Now, Israel, though, has been very strategic in their attacks. Their attacks have taken out heads of military, they've taken out heads of state in Iran, and Iran's having a hard time keeping up, making critical decisions as all these leaders are being taken out by Israel's attacks. They're very strategic attacks. This has been planned for quite some time. Israel's been wanting to bomb Iran since the 90s. And they've got their chance. In fact, they're doing so. But I don't think Israel was really prepared for the retaliation that Iran was able to give them. Now, with all that being said, again, this situation is very dire. It's just bad. With Pakistan calling for the uniting of all Muslim nations against Israel, and that also, I'm sure, will extend to the United States of America, let's not take away from the fact that while Iran is being bombarded, they still have rule over many, many terrorist proxies. Hezbollah, ISIS, the Houthis, and there's been reports, there's been predictions. I mean, I can't confirm for sure because, of course, Department of Homeland Security is not going to come out and tell the American people that we have sleeper cells in America. But it's been rumored and murmured for many, many, many years. And with the increased influx of people that came across the border under Biden's administration, 11.5 or 11.7 million people, with the data that I just read as it relates to encounters, those that were actually caught that were known terrorists. And then you take all that, extrapolate it, put it back, analyze it, whatever you want to do with it. But let's go ahead and see how that relates and coincides with what's happening with this war. What is going to stop Iran if they feel so threatened that if Trump steps in support of Israel, they don't just make the call and activate their sleeper cells here in the United States? I don't think Iran wants to do that, but it will happen and will be a last resort for them if America steps into this war, which seems like we're getting closer and closer to doing. Now, the excuses have already been made. The groundwork has been laid because now, just as it happened in the Iraq War, there has been reports that there are suddenly discoveries of weapons of mass destruction. Of course, we knew this would happen. It was just a matter of time. So let's go ahead and play a clip that just came out on Fox News regarding this very claim.
There's exclusive satellite images revealing the location of a previously unknown Iranian nuclear site. Now, the facility spans nearly 2,500 acres, and this is a big discovery. Jillian Turner has more from the State Department. Good morning, Jillian.
Pretty explosive, Dana. These satellite images that we have obtained exclusively show the alleged site location and even the layout of the secret, previously unknown nuclear weapons facilities inside Iran. This, of course, raises fresh concerns about the regime's role in these ongoing nuclear talks with the Trump administration. The National Council of Resistance of Iran has collected intelligence from sources on the ground inside Iran that locate this nuclear weapons facility in what is called Semnan province, far from the regime's already known nuclear sites. It's codenamed the Rainbow Site by Iran's officials, and it spans nearly 2,500 acres.
All right, so now we have confirmed, after all these years, with all the intelligence operations, with Israel being right next door, it is now revealed that there is a 2,500 acre nuclear facility in Iran. Coincidence much? Yeah. So America is obviously, either wanting to enter this war or being pressured to enter this war behind closed doors. And it seems like the press is already teeing it up. They're already teeing it up to garner support from the American people. But this time it's not going to work. This time, the American people are very adamant about not getting into another long, drawn-out war in the Middle East. But we may be forced to, given the threats, the potential situation to go very bad. Again, remember, Iranian sleeper cells possible within the United States borders themselves. the fact that Iran funds the Houthis, ISIS, Hezbollah, and call the shots is very concerning. Also, Pakistan calls for all Muslims to unite against Israel. Pakistan says they will use nuclear weapons if they have to in retaliation and in support of Iran. And China supports Iran. What a world we live in. What a world. What a mess. And yes, you should be paying attention. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe to the show. And as always, have a great day.
I wanna taste your content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell.